Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. All right, welcome in to another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Tammy is producing, and look, we've had a couple of glitches the last couple of weeks with Coach Spurrier. They weren't her fault. There is a wire that we need to get fixed, and we're gonna get. I think it's fixed now, right? Or it's close to fixed. It'll be fixed at some point. Please do not email me how much you hate me because you can't listen to this thing. And I get it. Coach Spurrier is somebody you don't want to miss. But we're going to get all this stuff done, and we're like college football teams right now. All the college football teams are trying to figure out how to best utilize their players. I mean, that's basically what they're doing. That's us. We're trying to figure out everything before we get to the main part of the season, which really, to me, starts August 1st. That to me, is the unofficial start of football season, August 1st. When you get to a month where there are games being played, that's when the football season starts, okay? All right, let us get to, by the way, our guest today, Richard Johnson from SI.com and, of course, the SEC Network. You see him on the show that he does there, Thinking Out Loud. A former Gator, winner of the Ed Ashoff Rising Star Award. Can't wait to talk to him. But let us get to the Hand Law starting lineup. I know you guys are wondering what my thoughts were on media days. Well, first of all, there wasn't a whole lot. Not a whole lot came out of it. Look, it's a TV radio show now. And here's the weird thing. I think if I was there right now, I would not even go into the main media room, the main print media room, because nobody says anything there. Nobody. 0 people say anything there. I would just say to myself, hey, go talk to players, go talk to people that are where you can get them off to the side. Which I did a lot of that, but you would sit there and get kind of bummed into that. But anyway, one thing that two things about it. One thing was, I think Jimbo slipped up. Jimbo Fisher, of course, there was the Jimbo Nick thing is so overblown. It was never a big deal. Jimbo says it's a shame it became public. Yeah, because you called a press conference. Come on, do you even understand the concept? But that doesn't mean anything. But he was talking about the teams that he wanted to see be Texas A&M's permanent opponents, and it was I think it was Texas Texas. So you'd have Texas A&M, LSU because that's a big rivalry, and Arkansas. But he said, but we already got Mississippi State is what they're giving us, and we're like going, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, back up there a little bit. Are you saying that this has already been decided or what? So I don't know what's going on there, but it was really weird. The other story that really came out of this today for people down here, and a lot of you are not going to be happy about it, is that, and he is a good friend of mine, and he comes on this show all the time, and we'll get him on right before college football season, believe me. Great guy, Reese Davis, said today on, and again, nobody else is watching but me. It's like, something went wrong. Well, it did go wrong. Something went wrong. So Reese Davis on one of those shows that is on at like noon, and I mean I'm the only one watching it. There are 9 other guys, but anyway, they were having this debate about college football, and for some reason he referred to Florida as an average or below average team. Now, look, I get this is the public perception of the University of Florida's football team right now. And he's not other year, you're not going to be able to host recruits either, and Florida will be able to host recruits. So wouldn't that actually help Florida? I don't get him, and I don't get that argument. I don't think there's any chance of that happening. But Kirby has a lot of power right now. He just signed or agreed to a new contract, 10 years, $11.2 million. That's what you do when a guy wins a national championship, the one that they won since 1980. But I don't. This is what the market bears, and everybody goes, how can you be giving this kind of money to a coach and the lab professor doesn't make, okay. I'm not going to argue that point. The point is the market bears something for college football coaches. Billy Napier, I hate to say this, but unproven at Division I, Power 5 head coach, as a head coach, gets what, $7.5 million, I think it was. So this is what the market bears, and you have to live with it. You have to deal with it. But he's probably feeling his oats again. Number 3, the best thing I heard from Billy Napier, and again, I thought he was great during his appearances, and I'm sure every beat writer or guy thinks their coach was great. There's one I can tell you that wasn't, but the quote he had about you got to mow your own lawn, and they were talking to Greg McElroy about this, and boy, this hits it right on the head. You can't worry about Georgia. You can't worry about Alabama. You can't do things the way they do. You can do it, with personnel, but you can't. You're not dealing from the same deck they are. Don't worry about them. Worry about you, and that is what Napier's saying. He's saying basically, guys, we can only worry about us. We can't worry about what Georgia's doing, what Alabama's doing, what Texas A&M's doing. Can't worry about them. You got to be you. You got to do what we do best. And that's what we'll see going forward. But I thought that was really one of the coolest things about Napier's time with the young media hacks. By the way, somebody pointed this out to me last night. Do you notice Napier never talks about players unless you ask him about them? He doesn't bring them up willy-nilly. I wonder if that's calculated or I don't know. We'll see. All right, number 4, we have the SEC teams came out today. This is something they changed in I can't remember what year it was. But it used to be that remember Robbie and I would run down there on Thursday morning and get the release. It had who picked who, and like it was a story. It was a story but it wasn't a story that mattered. It never was and never is, even though they picked Alabama to win the SEC 7 straight years in a row. But now they wait till Friday and they go, hey, let's add another day to SEC Media Days, which is really smart, and I think that's Herb Vincent making that call on that. So it came out today. One Gator made first team All SEC, and I was a little surprised by it, even though I know he's a really good player and Florida's really excited about him. And that was Osiris Torrance, was first team All SEC. Not the guy they brought there, Richard Garage, the offensive lineman, who didn't make any of the teams. So that was interesting. It showed a remarkable actual paying attention to things, which is rare for SEC media, guys walking around with Auburn hats and stuff. Also making the team, or the second team, Brian Cox and Trey Dean. Brian Cox certainly I think is going to be that. But again, what are you going to do? Okay, the first thing, all right, I'm a rush in. Okay, well, Will Anderson's at least, that he may actually occupy both spots, but you got to beat out one other guy to be first team All SEC. You're not beating that guy out. We know that. And then on the third team, actually, Cox was second team. On the third team, Trey Dean, Gavon Dexter. I think you're wrong about that, guys. I would have voted him first team. And Ventrell Miller, who I've said before, is I think Florida is 2 injuries away from being a 6-6 type team, and those are Anthony Richardson and Ventrell Miller. Now, I'm not being critical of them, and maybe that's why people get down on the Gators and they go, Florida, they stink. They're awful. I don't even know why they have them. Why they even have a league. The media, though, this has got to be a first. And again, we're often wrong, but we have picked Alabama 7 straight years. That was a good move. And again, I didn't get to vote in this one. Florida, 4th. I wonder if Florida has ever been 4th. I'm sure somebody like Nick Del Toro is going to look that up for me. Has Florida ever been picked 4th? Alabama, of course, the overwhelming pick to win it all. I think people are giving up on Georgia way too early. I'm not giving up on them. And look, I have to be, I'm not saying I have to be unbiased, but I got to be smart here. Georgia's got really good players. They got a quarterback who's already won a national championship, and they got the easiest schedule in the SEC. No matter what anybody wants to say, I know what easy schedules are. They're already 17-point favorites to win against Oregon in the opener, okay? So don't tell me they have a tough schedule. But that's my opinion. But anyway, so Florida's picked 4th, but Vandy got a first-place vote. I agree with the person who says that the guy who votes for Vandy every year to win the whole thing should not be allowed to vote anymore. I agree with that. I think, it's not like you're voting for the green candidate and he's going to finish 9th, You have that right to vote, but you don't have a right to vote when you're obviously making a dumb pick. There should be a limit on how dumb your pick can be. But what about this? Auburn, 7th. Wow. 7th. That is not a good sign for Brian Harsin, but I'm sure he'll use it as, a positive of saying, hey, let's go. And nobody likes it. We'll hear it when they win their first game, whoever they play in the first game. I don't know who it is, like Utah State or somebody. Auburn 7th, LSU 5th. LSU's 5th. So I know there's never been a time when Florida was picked 4th and LSU 5th in the history of man. And, for SEC Media Days. Finally, number 5 on the hand law starting lineup. Meanwhile, they were having a media day up at the ACC. It didn't get a lot of pub other than Pat Narduzzi going off. But Miami has decided to retire the turnover chain. Mario Cristobal making that announcement at their ACC Media Days. And I like what Colin Coward had to say about that. He said, hey, look, it's fake swag. And I agree 100%. I think all that kind of stuff is fake swag. And again, this is the old man going, get up, my lord, pull your pants up. Yeah, I know a little bit of that. But look, celebrate with your team. That's what it's about. And that's what the turnover chain was about. Look at me. It was never about look at what we did. It was about look at what I did. And that's why I didn't like it. That's me. It's not everybody. All right, we'll take a break. We will come back and we'll be joined by Richard Johnson, SI.com, and, of course, SEC Network. And appreciate all of you listening and watching. Appreciate the hand law starting lineup as well. We'll be right back with more on Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Drip Co. To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam Drip Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Hello, Richard. Richard, are you there? Okay, let's find it. All right, here we are. Okay, we were having a little bit of problem there, but it's a great pleasure to be joined by Richard Johnson from SI.com, and of course from the show that you guys, I know you watch Thinking Out Loud a lot on the SEC Network, and Richard, we wanted to have you on for a lot of reasons, and that you're a UF grad, and you're making quite a name for yourself in the public eye there.
Pat, man, I'm just trying to get like you.
Please don't do that. I mean, it'll be the worst thing you ever did. But so you won the Edward Aschoff Rising Star Award, which how much it means to me. Just talk about what it meant to you to win that award.
Yeah, it was really neat. I know journalism awards are. I think journalism awards are funny. They're kind of interesting when you get through this industry, how they're doled out, who gets them. But I knew, 2 or 3 years ago when they debuted this award, that this was something that I really, really wanted to win. I knew Ed personally. You could kind of say that I followed in his footsteps a little bit, going from UF to covering the Gators and then going national after that. But Ed is just somebody who I know meant so much to so many people in this business, and to have gotten the award and what it means and what it signifies was really cool. And it was really neat being in Atlanta this week at Media Days, running into people who I didn't even know, I've never even met, who were congratulating me on the award and kind of saying how nice it is to see. So it's been a really, really cool response over the last week or so since the football writers announced it.
It's funny because I was talking to my wife about this. I said, the thing about Edward is that everybody thought he was their best friend. Everybody thought, man, I have this unbelievable personal relationship with Edward Aschoff. And when he passed away, we felt like, do you want me to do the eulogy? I mean, they could have had a list of 1 million people to do the eulogy because that's how popular and how great a guy he was. He was just a guy that was just a good person.
Yeah, and it's just like, you can't find anybody say a bad word about him. Genuine, hilarious, a ray of light, filled everybody with happiness. The things that you hope people say about you when you're gone, people say about it.
Well, we know they won't about me, but go ahead. Hey, so you were at SEC Media Days, and I know you filled my seat admirably, being up there as you had to deal with Mike Griffith and all the Auburn guy in the Auburn hat asking questions and stuff like that. But what was your general takeaway from SEC Media Days?
Yeah, I think it was really clear that everybody is thankful to be talking about football. After the summer that we've had, even the couple years of off seasons that we've had, but especially this one with
Yeah.
NIL and NCAA governance and student athletes as potentially as employees and transfer portal and all that kind of stuff. I feel that this summer, this off season has been the least football-y of the off seasons that I've done this. I feel like we get progressively away from football and more into the governance, the boring stuff. Everybody, I mean, to a man, really just said, man, it's so refreshing to be back here actually talking about football and actually pointing towards the season and all that kind of stuff. So that to me really stood out as soon as I got there.
Was there one player that you just walked away and said, "Oh, I have a different feeling about him than I did before"? Like the one guy that just going from TV, I didn't know that Tank was that big, man. Now I know why he's called Tank.
Yeah, he's a thick dude. One, I was in a scrum with Alabama's Will Anderson, who's arguably the best player in the country
Yeah.
overall, and he got done. And the second he got done, a guy turns around and looks at me. We kind of lock eyes, and he says, "That young man is going to make a whole lot of money with that personality when he comes out of the NFL draft. Just gregarious, fun, a little bit self-deprecating, warm. For a guy like him, Alabama guys don't tend to get a ton of personality from those guys. They kind of stamp that out the second you walk on campus.
Yep.
But Will was very warm, very fun to talk to, really funny. And for a guy who's probably going to be the number one draft pick next April, following him this season is going to be really fun for people who are looking for something outside of the Gators to pay attention to.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, do you think there's? I mean, we know what happens with the Heisman. Everybody goes, "Oh, who are the best quarterbacks?" And again, I've lobbied for years. There's way too many Heisman voters in the 900s. Some of them don't even cover football anymore. But do you think a guy like Will Anderson can win a Heisman Trophy? I mean, is that? I mean, we haven't had one since what? Charles Woodson, a defensive player.
Yeah, obviously the conditions have to be right? For he finished fifth. I believe Aiden Hutchinson finished fourth last year, fourth or third. And to me, that was ridiculous because Will Anderson was the miles better player than Aiden Hutchinson last year. If you just watch them both,
But Aiden had that Heisman moment against Ohio State where he made all the sacks, and unfortunately that's when people start going, "Hey, let's watch college football today." It's the end of the year. Let's see what happens. Oh, Aiden Hutchinson, let me mark him down.
Exactly. So I think Will get those in spades this year. I think the conditions have to be right for a defensive player to win the Heisman. First and foremost, I'm not actually sure he's going to get as kind of pipped by his own teammates. I think Alabama's going to do things a little bit differently on offense. They're still going to score a ton of points, but I don't think Bryce Young is going to have to do everything this year and sort of run around with hair on fire like he did last year.
So that basically eliminates him, right?
I think to an extent. Now, the thing he's going to have to put up with, Will is going to have to put up with, is that I think Ohio State is going to score a truckload of points this year. And so CJ Stroud, who's pretty much the odds-on favorite right now, is going to get a lot of burn for the award. So if there's anybody who he's up against, it's definitely CJ Stroud because Ohio State just comes with so much firepower on offense, and we know that's what people pay attention to. But he's going to be able to put up some eye-popping sack numbers this year. And so you'd hope people put into the proper perspective what an effective defender and an impressive defender does in today's college football. I think you're muted, Pat. Yeah, I got you back now. Gotcha. Well, I think people are projecting this could go south very quickly type thing with Auburn. Auburn, they play Penn State week 3. And I think that is at home, and that is going to be a very early litmus test for what that team can be. I think the charitable best case scenario for Auburn is that Auburn rallies around their head coach and they take the adversity of this spring and summer and they use that to rally around and they become a better team. Now, if they don't do that and Auburn's boosters do what I think they are waiting in the wings to do to Brian Harsin, this thing could go south pretty quickly with all the infighting, all the turmoil that program can produce. I mean, we both know that when Auburn wants to crank it up, I mean, they can be
nobody's better.
Nobody's better than Auburn when Auburn wants to crank that particular part of its program up. So if things get nasty, that could go south. And I think that's why people are kind of projecting that. But man, it's funny, I actually forgot to do the media voting this year.
There were years when I did too. Yes.
Yeah, I missed the deadline. But talking to people around media days, it's really hard to figure out who the order of like 3 through like 9 or 10. Like I think the SEC has a really, really impressive middle this year. And I think it's different from years past. And I think because of it, you're probably going to see a different amount of parity under Alabama and Georgia than you have in years past.
I was telling, I think Robbie this on the radio yesterday. I can tell you what 1, 2, and 14 are going to be. But the rest of them, I have no idea. I have no idea what the other teams are going to be. I know what Alabama and Georgia are going to be. They're going to be right there with a chance. I mean, things may not break the right way, and I know what Vandy's going to be. But everybody else, I mean, what is LSU going to be? The media picked them 5th in the way. Has that ever even happened before, where they picked them 5th?
You could tell me that they play Florida State in New Orleans on week 1. Yep. You could tell me anything is going to happen in that game,
That's right.
and I'll buy it. I mean, I have zero clue what's going to happen in that game. You've got sneaky teams. You've got Tennessee with a high wattage offense. You've got Kentucky.
And no defense.
Yeah. You've got Kentucky, who's got a really impressive quarterback prospect that there's a lot of buzz about. You've got South Carolina with Spencer Rattler. And I think when you consider what Florida is going to be in year 1, I think you have to consider this parity in the SEC as something that could really kind of drag Florida down in a sense. I'm not sure Florida's that good anyway, and Billy Napier's been telling everybody that this is going to take time and this is going to take patience, which rightfully he should. And I think that their schedule, the conference that they're in addition to obviously Utah and Florida State on the schedule, the conference that they're in this year specifically is not conducive to a kind of quick year 1, turn it around, rebuild, bump type thing. They're going to have to slog through it this season.
Well, it's amazing, Richard, because you and I have something in common in that we both graduated from Florida and had to kind of put our feelings aside when we covered the Gators. Now I'm able to go ahead and talk about them because I'm not working for a newspaper anymore. But the thing I keep telling people they're 2 injuries away from 6-6. But if Ventrell Miller and Anthony Richardson stay healthy all year, they might be pretty good. But I mean, I don't think that anybody in the world believes that.
Yeah, I think the worst part for Florida this year is the first 2 games that they have are like the worst kind of opponents.
Yeah.
And I'm not even just saying, because they're not, the FCS Sisters of the Poor that Florida used to play to open the season. If they were playing Ohio State week 1, for instance, and they lose, I think everybody understands Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country. They have way more talent than you. Fine. You lost that game. Florida's got a long way to go with recruiting. Everybody knows it. But if they lose to Utah, the way Utah will beat you, like Utah is going to beat them up. Like that is not going to be a good time. Like Utah is going to come out here with stingy defense, 3 tight ends and a fullback, heavy personnel, stuff that Florida doesn't see a ton. Everybody saw the LSU game last year and what backbone Florida didn't have when it came to stopping the run. So I think Utah is just going to come into the swamp and try to beat Florida black and blue. And if Florida does end up losing that game, it's not going to be a fun watch. And I think it's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouths. Then they have Kentucky week 2, who's going to try to do a similar deal. So, from the get-go, I think it's a tough, game 1 and 2 for Billy and the Gators.
And I can tell you what what people are, if somebody's going to do this story about taking Utah's recruits and Kentucky's recruits average ranking.
You're out for me again. Yeah, you're back. Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be, Zook era Florida Tennessee, where it was important for both. Yeah, it was important for both teams, but for different reasons. Yeah, I agree with that. That is going to be the one. Tennessee poses kind of a very different challenge and a pretty much a 180 from what those two physical early teams pose. And then thankfully, for Florida, I think they get Eastern Washington, and then they get a Missouri team to kind of round out that first 6 games. But
Right.
It's going to be a very interesting first 6. And when you look to the next 6, when it really starts to turn up, things get interesting with how Florida's schedule shakes out.
All right, it is time for us to play our game that we play with all of our guests, and we'll play it with Richard Johnson right now. The yes, no way, or maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, fine dining done right. And of course, if you want to watch Richard, when does Thinking Out Loud, when do you guys start with that?
We will be back the first Monday after the season. So September, I think September 5th.
After it starts, yeah. And, of course, you can read his stuff on si.com. And we also appreciate Big Mills for being a sponsor. Yes, no way, or maybe you feel differently after Media Day than you did before Media Day about anything in the SEC.
I would definitely say yeah. With Alabama, I think there was a legitimate I think there's going to be way more defense for them this year than I think in years past. I think with Auburn, I expected Brian Harsin not really to address what happened this spring. He really kind of spiked the ball. Yeah. He spiked the ball and he kind of touchdown danced on him. So that was funny. I will say there was a point in time when a question was posed to Mike Leach that rendered him momentarily speechless, Pat. And so that certainly caught me by surprise. Those are the couple things that I was not expecting going in.
All right, number 2, Texas A&M is the 3rd best team in the SEC.
Yeah, because I did a show with a buddy of mine who really knows quarterbacks, and he thinks very highly of Max Johnson, Johnson. And so when I heard that, I said, all right, this is a person whose opinion I really trust and really respect. And so, okay, I'll change how I view Max Johnson, and I'll open myself up to Texas A&M actually having a quarterback. We know what they have the rest all over the rest of the roster, and we know that like the Alabama teams, the best Alabama teams and the best Georgia teams, they've sort of built that thing. The spine of that team is very strong. What they do up front and in the middle there. And so, I think that makes A&M as good a bet as any for number 3 in the SEC.
Yeah, I don't know much about how good they're going to be because they should have been better last year, as you know. There were games where you looked at them, you thought they were great, and then they weren't great. So it's kind of hard to tell. But I tell you, I don't know that there were 2 confident coaches at SEC Media Days. One of them was Nick Saban, and one of them was Jimbo Fisher. Well, I'll throw Kirby in there too. Those were the 3 most. And again, those are the guys who were recruiting the best.
Oh yeah. Kirby was funny. Kirby is feeling himself, and
Yeah.
deservedly so. Deservedly so. Yeah, Kirby's on a heater. A lot of personality from him this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, finally, number 3, Clark Lee was right. Vanderbilt will be the best program in the country.
I think by what definition is the way that I would pose that.
GPA.
I think Clark's a really sharp coach. I think Clark is in a really tough situation. As anybody that goes into Vanderbilt is going to be in a really tough situation. What is the investment? What is the from administration? What are they going to actually put behind the football program in order to try to boost it at all? On paper, Vandy in an attractive environment in Nashville, with all the academics you can ask for, you'd think that they'd be something of a beacon and that they could get out of this station of the SEC that they are terminally in, with every coach besides James Franklin. But we don't play the game on paper, and for Vanderbilt, it's always been a slog. I hear you. Now I hear you. Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in Brooklyn these days. I'm in a big city. Try to get back down to Gainesville as much as I can. I was back down there in May, I guess. But yeah, I try to get back as much as I can. You got it, brother.
Appreciate
Thanks, Pat.
Richard for joining us here on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. And we got to take a break. We'll come back with more here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Duly Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Hello? Okay, I'm on. Yeah, we're having a major problem with our computer. We are going to get this fixed one way or another. I believe me. If I have to pay for it myself, we're going to get this problem fixed. All right, we got a lot of things to get to, as always, here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And appreciate Richard Johnson. We did have him up as Robert Johnson, but it was kind of we were trying to do a Between Two Ferns things, where we had a different name and, like they did with Obama and stuff like that. That's what Tammy was going for. I don't know if it worked or not. Also, Robert Johnson, one of the great blues players of all time. I could notice Richard every once in a while would look down and go, that's not my name. He never say anything. He's very polite. All right, we are going to get to the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And you know who my Gator of the Week is? My Gator of the Week is Anthony Richardson. You know why? Not only did he change his nickname, his camp got involved in that. I know that, which I'm a big believer that it always made me uncomfortable. AR-15 did. And you heard Coach Spurrier on Monday talk about that as well. But he handled himself very well out there with all those questions, with everything, and really came across, I think, as a newer, mature quarterback. And I think a lot of people really left impressed. Now, nobody's writing about Florida and Florida football and how great they're going to be. Nobody's writing that story. But I think they all came away from that saying, that Anthony Richardson's a pretty cool guy. And he's one of our own, Gainesville youngster. And I hope he has a great year. I really do. I mean, I'm pleading for a great year. I want to see that. I wanted Emory Jones to have a great year last year. It didn't work out. But our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week is Anthony Richardson. Let us get to our Hesser and Kipke Three Things. And, of course, Three Things, as always, is brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklaw.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, Three Things. Let's start off with another guy whose nickname was AR-15. And he said, I want my name changed. I don't want anybody calling me that. And that is Austin Reeves, who was with the Lakers this year, had a pretty good rookie year, undrafted player. His other nickname is a Hillbilly Kobe. I like that nickname better anyways. But he doesn't want that. He wants people to come up with a new nickname. All right, Austin Reeves. How about, no, that's not going to work. Anyway, yeah, AR-15 is a nickname that should be retired for good for everybody. It's just dumb. All right, number 2 on Hesser and Kipke's Three Things. This is the time of the year when I rant and rave about watch lists, whether it's the Heisman or the Nagurski or the Thorpe or the Outland or whatever. Somebody was, I just saw Naquan Wright is on the Doak Walker list. And I'm like, you know what? Who should be on the watch list for college football for people who vote on, because not everybody votes on everything. Like I vote on the Biletnikoff still, and I vote on the Heisman, and I think that may be it for me now. And they quit. They kicked me out of the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame because I got mad because Judd Davis isn't in. Think about how stupid that is. The point being, these watch lists come out, and I just go, you should be watching. You know, you should be watching if you're a voter. Everybody who plays that position. If you're a Biletnikoff voter, you should know about every receiver because you should have watched them. That's what voting is all about. It's not about just picking a name. Oh, this guy, this game, I like that guy's name. It's not about that. It's not about looking at stats. It's about voting the right way. So the watch lists shouldn't even exist. But I understand why they do. It gives the award some prestige or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Personally, I got the Biletnikoff watch list. I didn't even look at it. I deleted it. I'm going to watch college football, and then I'm going to figure out who I'm going to vote for. Finally, number 3, I don't get baseball in a lot of ways, as you know. I don't get baseball scheduling. So they have the All-Star game, and then last night they have some games. Some teams play again, but other teams don't. And some teams play doubleheaders, like the Yankees did and lost a doubleheader. Maybe it's a sign that they're about to go on a losing streak. And lost the Astros, who are pretty good. But I just never get baseball's scheduling. It's just me. Is it a me problem or just a baseball problem? That's the question you're going to ask when you go to bed tonight. Put your head on the pillow. Was Pat Dooley right? You're not laughing, Tammy. You're supposed to be laughing at that. All right. All right, that is Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. We appreciate Hesser and Kipke so much, and all our sponsors who do an amazing job. Let us get to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. A lot of you guys qualified picking the American League to win the All-Star game. We got a big list, so I'm going to go with next Friday. How about a week from today? We will do a poll again. We'll get a winner. For the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. In fact, I have to go by, and I don't have to go by. I love going by to see Kyle and get some more gift certificates as well. But our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, it's just one game. And again, we're in that dry time of year where pretty much all we have is baseball and stuff like that. So let us do the Angels at the Braves. Good game. I'm looking forward to seeing it. 1:35 game on Sunday. So it's a Sunday game. Angels at Braves. Yes, Angels at Braves. You pick a winner. That's all you have to do to qualify. And then we'll have one more, and then we'll pick a winner. Let's go ahead and give somebody some cool prizes. We love doing that. All right, let us get to one of our favorite things. We got a lot of favorite things here. This, that, and the other. And, of course, this, that, and the other, as always, brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, where I spent a lot of time last night with Chris Harry and Robbie Andrew. We had a good time. And Bill Reichert. We had a great time there. Really good time. That's all I have to say about that. We had a lot of fun. So this, that, and the other is brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, by Dar Shakow Insurance. I need to go play golf with John Dar. I need a haircut too, don't I? Tammy, your thoughts?
You look great.
No, I don't. I don't look great. First of all, I've never looked great. I came out of the womb looking bad. All right, and then also, of course, by Ironwood Golf Course, one of the 4 golf courses we have in Gainesville. Don't get me started on that. But actually, they're getting better. They're getting better every day. I go out there and play a lot. They're getting better. The greens are getting better. They got people who know what they're doing. It's just going to take a while, kind of like Florida's football team. All right, so let's get to this, that, and the other. This was SEC Media Days came up, and I'm like, man, I want to be there. And I flip on the TV, and I'm like, they're doing the pregame with Peter Burns and Chris Doring, and I'm thinking, it'd be great to be there and hanging out with Chris at night and just to talk to all those people. Man, I miss that. This is 2 years in a row, well, 3 years in a row that I haven't gone. And I never will go again. There's no reason. As I explained, I had 3 people ask me last night, hey, did you go up to Atlanta? I go, nobody's paying for me to stay there overnight, okay? It's just not happening. Then, I'm working for a lot of people, but nobody's paying me to go stay there, and I'm not going to do it on my own. But anyway, I did have some pangs, again, about SEC Media Days because Robbie and I have always had so much fun there. That of this, that, and the other is that I started watching it. After, the first guy was, I think, Brian Kelly, I think, was the first guy. And so I watched a decent amount of it. Not all of it, though, because of the other. And the other is, it's really boring. It's a TV show is what it is. Set up for the SEC network, set up for ESPN, set up for radio. The radio shows I listen to, a lot of them are, the ESPNU channel on Sirius. All the other conference channels, and they're all doing their things, and all they're doing is interviewing guys saying, how do you feel about this season? I'm like, oh my, I guess got to turn them off. Drives me nuts. And the other is this. I counted it up. Somebody counted up each coach. I added them together. There were 15,399 words spoken in the 14 coaches lead up to their segment. So in other words, they talked for over 15,000 words just as their intro. You know who didn't? Mike Leach. He said 7 things. He said, all right. I don't even remember what he said. Right, you were here at Media Days questions, something like that, That's one reason I like him. But to be honest with you, it sounded like it was pretty boring. So I'm kind of glad I didn't go. In fact, I'm very glad I didn't go. And again, like I said, I'm never going to go. There's a lot of things I'm going to miss about not being a sports writer for the Gainesville Sun anymore. I mean, I know this is a 2-year thing now. So what would it be? December would be the 2-year anniversary since I left. But I've kept writing. But I do miss a lot of things that I really kind of took advantage of and enjoyed. And one of them was going to SEC Media Days. But when I'm watching those coaches, I'm like, thank God I'm not there. Let me go play golf. All right, that is our this, that, and the other. Finally, for you, we're bringing on a new sponsor. They're going to start next month, but we're giving them a couple of shout-outs. Next month, we'll have the logo and everything and the reader set up. East Lake Pediatrics down in the Tampa, St. Pete, Pasco area. I mean, this is what the far-reaching effects of the Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We got sponsors in Jacksonville and Tampa and all over the world. Well, all over Florida. Well, 2 places in Florida. Well, 3 if you count Gainesville. All right. So we're doing what we call Pat Dooley story time for them, and we love doing it. So I'm going to give you one more SEC Media Day story that is one of my favorite. And we were talking about it last night, actually. And that was we went to there was this bar in I want to say 15 years ago, maybe, there was a bar in the Winfrey Hotel that was a fancy bar. Like if you went in there, it was going to cost you a lot of money. So we avoided that. We found other places to go. But usually at the end of the night, you kind of go, let's go have one drink in the fancy bar. So we went in there and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, I think it might have been Joey Knight, might have been Robbie. Somebody said, isn't that guy from Leonard Skinner? And we all realized, yeah, that's Leonard Skinner. Now, again, this is Leonard Skinner after the tragic accident, but it's the other Van Zant brother. And I see at some point, got a lot of liquid courage in me, I see Billy Powell, their keyboard player, go up to the bar to get drinks. And I went up there and I said, whatever you want, buddy, it's on me. I will buy you. He goes, well, we're just having some wine. You'll be like, 4 people want wine. I go, I got a credit card, much as you want. You guys are great. later that night, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we hear the opening chords on the piano of Freebird, and he plays the entire song. And of course, we're singing along with it back in the background. But we had a good time. That was one of the great nights of my life, listening to Billy Powell play Freebird. And the weird thing is, the next day we're on a shuttle to go to the airport, and we hear, by the way, Leonard Skinner canceled their concert today. There was an illness in the band. I go, yeah, it's because I bought them all the drinks. It's my fault. Sorry, Birmingham. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, that is our story time with Pat Dooley, which I got him. I can go forever with stories. Now, you may have heard that one before, but it's still a good story. And that's going to do it for our show today. Appreciate Richard Johnson for coming along and doing a great job. Coach Spurrier will be here Monday. We'll have a great – I'm going to try to get Heather, I think, on Heather Dinich on Friday, although I'm working on somebody else. We'll see what happens there. We'll be back on Monday, though, with another show. And we're going to get this problem with this computer fixed up. I'm gonna make sure that happens. If it doesn't, you can blame me. Then you can blame me. Don't blame me today. Just blame me then. All right, we will be back, and thanks again to Tammy for doing a great job. We'll be back with a show on Monday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.